What if your emotional explosions are not a sign of your passion, but a leakage of your power? True strength is not measured by the force of the explosion, but by the unbreakable discipline to contain it. This is how you become the master of your own inner fire. 5 Laws to Stop Reacting and Exploding. Stoicism. Compiled and published by Stoic Dominion. Lesson 1. Inner Triggers Awareness Map. Imagine a sleeping volcano, its majestic peak calm against a blue sky. To an observer, it appears to be a mountain of profound peace and stability. But deep beneath the surface, a trained volcanologist knows a different story. He sees the hidden fault lines in the rock, he measures the immense, rising pressure of the magma, and he understands that the mountain's quiet exterior hides a potential for catastrophic eruption. He knows that the eruption, when it comes, will not be a random event, but an inevitable consequence of these hidden, underlying pressures. This is the inner conflict of a man who is prone to emotional outbursts. On the surface, you may appear calm and in control, but deep within you lie hidden fault lines, your insecurities, your unexamined beliefs, your past traumas. When an external event, a trigger, puts pressure on one of these fault lines, the result is a sudden, violent eruption of anger or frustration that seems to come out of nowhere. The problem is that by being ignorant of your own inner geology, you are condemned to live in a state of constant, low-grade fear of your own next eruption. You walk on eggshells around yourself, never knowing what small comment or minor frustration will be the one that causes the mountain to blow. This leads to a secondary, more insidious explosion, the eruption of shame and regret that follows the outburst. This aftershock can be more damaging than the initial anger, creating a vicious cycle where the fear of your own reactions makes you anxious, which in turn makes you more likely to react. This cycle erodes your self-trust, leaving you feeling like a stranger in your own mind, a king who is terrified of the traitor lurking within his own court. You cannot lead your life effectively if you cannot trust yourself. The first law to stop exploding is to become the master volcanologist of your own mind by creating an inner triggers awareness map. This is the foundational practice of looking beneath the surface of your reactions to identify the specific recurring triggers and the deep underlying fault lines they press upon. The core Stoic principle here is that self-knowledge is the absolute bedrock of self-control. The Stoics were not interested in just managing the symptoms of emotional distress. They sought to understand and correct the root cause, which they identified as our own flawed judgments and beliefs or dogmata. Your emotional outbursts are not random. They are predictable symptoms of your hidden fault lines. A feeling of being disrespected might trigger an eruption because it presses on the fault line of, "I am not worthy." A feeling of being controlled might cause an explosion because it hits the fault line of, "I am powerless." A good geologist doesn't just know where the faults are, he understands the type of pressure building within them. Is it tectonic pressure from a sense of injustice? Is it magmatic pressure from a wounded ego? Similarly, you must understand your unique geology. This self-awareness is the ultimate form of power, for it is the knowledge of the battlefield upon which all your inner wars are fought. The Stoics called our core self, our faculty of choice, the prohairesis. Your prohairesis is the geologist. It is separate from the volatile landscape it studies. You are not the volcano, you are the scientist observing it. This distinction is the beginning of freedom. By creating a map of these connections, you move from being the terrified villager living at the base of a mysterious volcano to the wise geologist who understands the mountain's nature and can anticipate its behavior. To begin creating your awareness map, you must become a fearless explorer of your own inner terrain. The first actionable step is to conduct a post-eruption analysis. After you have had an emotional outburst and have calmed down, take out a journal. With the dispassionate curiosity of a scientist, write down exactly what happened. The second step is to identify the epicenter with precision. What was the specific trigger? Was it a particular person's tone of voice? A specific phrase? The feeling of being ignored? Were you physically compromised, tired, hungry, or stressed from something else? These physical states are crucial data points as they lower our rational defenses. Note these conditions meticulously. The third and most crucial step is to follow the tremor down to the fault line. Ask yourself the powerful question: what deep-seated belief or insecurity within me did this trigger threaten? Did it threaten your sense of competence? Your sense of being respected? Your sense of control? Then go deeper. What story did I instantly tell myself about this trigger that gave it so much power? The story might be, this person thinks I'm an idiot, or they are deliberately trying to disrespect me. That story is the accelerant on the fire. You can then begin to categorize your fault lines. Is this an ego fault line related to respect and status? Is it a security fault line related to fear of loss or abandonment? Or is it a justice fault line related to fairness? Understanding the type of fault allows you to build the right kind of reinforcements. Keep a running list of these trigger story fault line connections. This document is your map, the most valuable intelligence you will ever gather. The benefits of creating this map are a profound shift from a state of helpless reactivity to one of strategic awareness. You will stop being surprised and ambushed by your own emotions. You will begin to see the eruption coming long before it reaches the surface, giving you precious time to engage your other strategies. This awareness itself is a form of control. It diffuses the shame because you understand the mechanics of the explosion rather than just judging yourself for it. It is the first step in disarming the explosive power of your triggers, transforming them from terrifying, unpredictable monsters into knowable, manageable phenomena. You are no longer living in fear of a mysterious inner monster. You are calmly and rationally studying the geological nature of your own mind. Your practice is to choose one recent emotional reaction, no matter how small. Take 10 minutes and with a journal, attempt to map it. Identify the trigger, your physical state, the story you told yourself, and then ask the hard question: what deeper, hidden fault line did it press on? Was it about ego, security, or justice? Mapping your fault lines gives you the intelligence you need. But a map is useless if your kingdom has no walls. You must build a mental fortress that can withstand the tremors. Next, we will learn how to build that fortress through the power of emotional detachment. Please subscribe to Stoic Dominion to continue your training as a master of your inner world. Lesson 2. Emotional Detachment, Mind Fortress. Imagine a great medieval fortress, a citadel of stone and iron, standing on a high hill. Outside its walls, a chaotic battle rages. Arrows fly, siege engines roar, and the noise is deafening. But inside the fortress, in the king's central keep, there is a space of profound quiet and order. The king can hear the chaos of the battle outside, but the noise does not penetrate his inner sanctum. The walls are too thick. His peace is not dependent on the silence of the battlefield. It is guaranteed by the strength of his own defenses. This is the inner conflict of a man without emotional detachment. When the battle of life begins, when he is faced with a trigger, a provocation, or a stressful event, he has no walls. The chaos from the outside instantly becomes his inner reality. The shouts of the world become the shouts inside his own head. The problem is that a king who is fighting on the front lines alongside his rawest emotions cannot think strategically. He is just another panicked soldier in the fray, reacting to every threat with a surge of adrenaline. Without an inner fortress to retreat to, he is completely exposed, and his emotional state is utterly at the mercy of the external battle, making a calm, rational response impossible. He mistakes the battle for his kingdom, and so his entire world is war, leaving no room for peace, for reason, or for wise governance. The second law to stop exploding is to construct an emotional detachment mind fortress. This is the unbreakable habit of building and maintaining a psychological distance between your true self, your rational, observing mind, and the chaotic storm of your emotional reactions. The core Stoic idea here is that you are not your emotions. You are the conscious awareness that perceives the emotions. Just as the king is not the battle, you are not your anger. Anger is just a noisy, chaotic event that is happening outside the walls of your inner citadel. This is a critical distinction from unhealthy suppression. Suppression is the fearful act of a king who tries to pretend the battle isn't happening, which is a foolish and dangerous denial of reality. Detachment, on the other hand, is the courageous act of a king who acknowledges the battle is real and ferocious, but chooses to observe it from the safety of his central keep, from where he can command his resources effectively. This is achieved through a radical application of the dichotomy of control. Your emotional reaction is an impression, an event that happens to you. Your choice to assent to it, to believe it, to identify with it, and to act on it, that is what is up to you. Detachment is the practice of creating a space where you can observe the emotion without becoming it. To begin the construction of your mind fortress, you must practice being the architect of your own peace. The first actionable step is the practice of objective observation. When you feel a powerful emotion beginning to rise, your first move is to label it as if you were a scientist studying a strange phenomenon. The sensation of anger is arising in my body and mind. The physiological response of anxiety is beginning. This simple act of clinical labeling immediately places you in the role of the observer, not the victim of the feeling. The second step is to create a mental moat and refuse to lower the drawbridge. Visualize the emotion as a fiery army outside your castle walls. See it, acknowledge its presence and its power. Then, watch the stories it tells you. Anger's story is often, this is an injustice. You must punish them. Fear's story is, this is a catastrophe, you must flee. Your job is to watch these stories play out like a theatrical performance on the other side of the moat, without believing them and without letting the actors into your city. The third step is to retreat to your inner keep. This is a mental sanctuary you must design and build during times of calm. What does it contain? It should contain your most powerful grounding truths, your core values, a key Stoic principle like the dichotomy of control, or a memory of a time you acted with profound strength and virtue. When chaos erupts, you train your mind to immediately retreat to this place of pre-built calm and consult with your own deepest wisdom. The benefits of building this fortress are the attainment of a truly resilient and unshakable peace. You will no longer be a leaf in the wind of your own emotions. You will be able to experience intense feelings without being controlled by them, which is the definition of emotional maturity. This will give you the clarity and composure needed to handle any crisis with wisdom and strength. You will begin to see that most of what you feared was not the event itself, but the terrifying story you told yourself about it. This is a life-altering revelation that liberates you from the prison of your own mind. You become the king in his citadel, who can calmly watch the most ferocious battle rage outside his walls, knowing that his own peace is secure because he himself built the defenses. Your practice for this week is to try the labeling technique. The next time a strong emotion arises, simply pause and say to yourself, I am observing the feeling of anger, or I'm observing the feeling of anxiety. Notice the space this creates. Your fortress gives you a safe place to think, but the victory is won or lost in the split-second gap between a trigger and your action. This is where you must become a master of time. Next, we will explore the ritual of mastering the response gap. Please like this video if you're ready to build your own fortress. Lesson 3. Response Gap Mastery Ritual. Imagine a master swordsman and a novice standing face to face. A signal is given to begin the duel. The novice, driven by adrenaline and fear, reacts instantly. He lunges forward in a clumsy, predictable attack, his mind and body a single, explosive impulse. The master, however, does something that looks like magic. In the fraction of a second after the signal, he seems to enter a different dimension of time. There's a moment of absolute stillness, a gap in which he perceives his opponent's sloppy advance. This gap is not empty. It is filled with thousands of hours of training. It is an active, not a passive, space. In that gap, he assesses the trajectory of the attack, he consults his deep well of experience, he considers his counter moves, and he chooses his response with perfect clarity. He doesn't just react faster, he uses the space between stimulus and response more wisely. His victory is not won in the action, but in the mastery of that tiny gap. This is the inner conflict that leads to our explosive reactions. We live with no gap. The trigger happens and our reaction is instantaneous. The insult is thrown and the angry word flies from our mouth. The frustrating event occurs and we slam our fist on the table. The problem is that by having no response gap, we have surrendered our freedom. We have become stimulus response machines, no different from a cornered animal lashing out. We are completely predictable and easily manipulated because anyone who knows our triggers can play us like a puppet. Our lack of a response gap is a lack of personal power and a betrayal of our rational nature. The third law is to develop a response gap mastery ritual. This is the unbreakable habit of transforming the space between trigger and action from a zero point of reactivity into a sacred ritual of calm deliberation. The core Stoic principle here is that our highest human faculty, our reason, lives inside this gap. A reaction is an animalistic impulse, a relic of our evolutionary past. A response, on the other hand, is a reasoned choice, the mark of a self-possessed human being. The entire purpose of Stoic training is to widen this gap so that our reason has time to intervene and take command from our primal instincts. A Stoic warrior trains himself so that when a trigger occurs, it does not lead to an immediate action. Instead, the trigger itself initiates an immediate automatic ritual of pausing. This ritual becomes his new instinct, an unbreakable habit that replaces the old instinct of immediate explosion. This mastery of the gap is the very heart of self-control. If it feels impossible, it is only because the old pathway is so well worn. Your task is to begin carving a new, better one. To master this ritual, you must drill it until it is more deeply ingrained than your anger. The first actionable step is to make a physical anchor for your pause. This is a subtle physical movement you will train yourself to do the instant you feel triggered. It could be pressing your thumb and forefinger together, touching your tongue to the roof of your mouth, or simply feeling your feet firmly planted on the floor. This physical act becomes the first part of your new, non-emotional reflex, pulling your awareness out of your head and into the solid reality of your body. The second step is the breath. As we've discussed, your immediate follow-up to the physical anchor is one controlled, deliberate breath. Ideally, a physiological sigh, a double inhale followed by a long exhale. This is the second part of the ritual, designed to calm your nervous system and give your mind a moment of clarity. The third step is to ask one simple, pre-memorized question. This question is your gateway to reason. It could be, what would my best self do right now? Or is this reaction in service of my long-term goals? Or, most simply, what is the wise move here? This entire sequence, anchor, breathe, ask, is your new ritual. It should take no more than 3 to 5 seconds, but it is a lifetime away from a zero-gap reaction. The benefits of mastering this ritual are the benefits of reclaiming your own free will. You will cease to be a predictable, reactive machine. You will find that in that 3-second gap, you have the power to choose a different path, to avoid a destructive outburst, and to maintain your composure. This skill will make you a formidable negotiator, a respected leader, and a stable partner. The person who can master their response in a tense situation almost always controls the outcome of that situation. You become the master swordsman, whose apparent stillness in the face of an attack is not hesitation, but the sign of a mind so disciplined that it can master time itself, and in doing so, master any outcome. Your practice is to choose your physical anchor. Decide right now what it will be. For the rest of the day, consciously practice that small physical movement anytime you feel even a minor stressor. Begin to build the reflex. The response gap gives you control, but that control is best expressed through clear, calm, and assertive boundaries that prevent the need for a response in the first place. Next, we will establish your code of calm, assertive boundaries. Your support helps us spread this message, so please subscribe to Stoic Dominion. Lesson 4. Calm, Assertive Boundaries Code. Imagine a sovereign kingdom that is ruled by a just and powerful king. The kingdom has a clearly written legal code. This code defines the rights of its citizens, the responsibilities of its government, and the specific consequences for violating the law. This code is not an angry, emotional document. It is a rational, logical framework for a peaceful and orderly society. When a person breaks the law, the king does not fly into a rage. He and his judges calmly and dispassionately apply the pre-existing code. This is the inner conflict many of us face with our personal boundaries. We don't have a written code. Our boundaries are a vague, unwritten set of emotional preferences. We only know a boundary has been crossed when we feel angry or resentful. The problem is that this turns our boundaries into a source of constant conflict. We are forced to enforce them with our emotions, often with angry outbursts, because we have no clear, logical code to fall back on. This leads to a buildup of what can be called resentment debt. Each time a boundary is crossed and we fail to respond, we incur a small debt of resentment. Over time, this debt compounds until it becomes massive, leading to an emotional bankruptcy, an explosive outburst over a seemingly minor issue. We become a king who tries to rule his kingdom not with law, but with his own unpredictable moods, which leads to chaos and a lack of respect. This approach is not only ineffective, it is a form of dishonesty, as we are not being clear with others about what we need. The fourth law is to establish and enforce a calm, assertive boundaries code. This is the practice of treating your personal boundaries not as emotional preferences, but as the clear, rational, and non-negotiable laws of your own sovereign kingdom. Think of it as your personal constitution. The core Stoic principle here is that of justice. A just ruler, including the just ruler of your own life, creates clarity and order. A personal boundary code is a declaration of what is just and unjust in your world. It is a proactive framework, not a reactive emotion. When someone violates a boundary, you no longer need to get angry. Your job is not to react emotionally, but to act as the calm, dispassionate judge who simply applies the code. This removes the emotional turmoil from the act of enforcement and replaces it with the quiet authority of a king upholding his own law. This is actually an act of love. Love for yourself as you protect your peace, and love for others as you teach them how to have a healthy and respectful relationship with you. To create your own personal legal code, you must be a thoughtful and just legislator. The first actionable step is to write down your boundary code. In a journal, create a short list of your most important personal laws. Frame them as clear principles. For example, Law number 1, my time is a precious resource and will be treated with respect. Punctuality is required for those who wish to have my focused time. Law number 2, communication will be direct and honest. Passive aggression will not be engaged with. Law number 3, my decisions are my own. I will listen to advice, but I will not tolerate being pressured or guilted. Law number 4, my physical and mental well-being are my responsibility and a top priority. The second step is to determine the consequence for a violation in advance. For each law, decide on a calm, logical consequence. For law number 1, the consequence might be, if someone is consistently late, I will stop making plans with them. For law number 2, if someone is being passive-aggressive, I will end the conversation until they are ready to speak directly. It is crucial that the consequence is an action you take, not a punishment you inflict. The third step is to practice communicating these boundaries as simple statements of policy, not as angry demands. I have a policy of not continuing conversations that become disrespectful. My rule for myself is that I don't engage in gossip. This framing makes it about your code, not about their behavior. The benefits of having a clear code are a profound sense of order and control. You will no longer be drained by the constant emotional labor of enforcing vague boundaries. Your interactions will become much clearer as people will learn the laws of your kingdom. You will find that you have far fewer outbursts because the need for an angry reaction is replaced by the simple, calm enforcement of your code. You stop accumulating resentment debt and start operating from a place of emotional solvency. You become the just king, whose kingdom is a place of peace and respect, not because he is a tyrant who rules by rage, but because he is a wise legislator whose laws are clear and whose judgment is always calm and fair. Your practice for this week is to write down just one law for your personal boundary code. Define the law and define the calm consequence for its violation. A A code of boundaries is a powerful system, but any system is only as strong as the daily discipline used to maintain it. The final law is about making this entire practice an automatic daily habit. Next, we will learn how to install a daily Stoic reaction reset. To continue building your kingdom, please like this video. Lesson 5. Daily Stoic Reaction Reset. Imagine a master archer at the end of a long day of practice. He does not simply put his bow away. He performs a crucial maintenance ritual. He carefully inspects the bow for any signs of stress or fracture. He cleans it, he waxes the string, and he places it carefully in its case. He knows that this small, daily ritual is what ensures his weapon will be reliable and true for tomorrow's practice. He is resetting his most important tool back to its optimal state. This is the inner conflict that allows our negative emotional patterns to become deeply ingrained. We go through our day, we get triggered, we experience stress, and we absorb negativity. But at the end of the day, we do nothing to clean or reset our most important tool, our own mind. The problem is that this accumulated stress and unexamined reactivity becomes a toxic residue. It carries over to the next day and the next. Our baseline level of agitation slowly rises, making us more and more likely to have an emotional explosion, because we are starting each new day with the uncleaned weapon of a chaotic mind. A mind clouded with the residue of yesterday's stress is like an arrow with mud on its fletching. It will not fly true. We are allowing the fractures to deepen over time until they become a catastrophic break, all because we neglect our daily maintenance. The fifth and final law is to establish a daily Stoic reaction reset. This is the unbreakable habit of ending each day with a conscious, deliberate ritual designed to clear away the emotional residue and reset your mind to a baseline of calm, rational clarity. The core Stoic practice here is the philosophical journal or evening meditation. Seneca described in detail how he would put himself on trial each night, reviewing his entire day, examining his own faults, celebrating his small victories over his impulses, and calming his mind for a peaceful sleep. He was performing a daily maintenance ritual on his own soul. This practice is not just about reflection. It is a cognitive reset. It's an opportunity to realign your mind with your principles, to learn from the day's mistakes, and to consciously release the emotional baggage you have accumulated, ensuring you do not carry it with you into the next day. It is the archer's daily maintenance, ensuring his most important weapon is always in peak condition. It is how you ensure that each day is a fresh start, not just a continuation of yesterday's battles. To create your own daily reset ritual, you need only a few minutes and a commitment to consistency. The first actionable step is to schedule this ritual as a non-negotiable appointment. This could be the last 10 minutes before you go to bed. Protect this time fiercely from distractions like your phone or television. This is sacred time for the maintenance of your kingdom. The second step is to follow a simple, 3-part structure in a journal. Part 1. Gratitude. Write down one thing that happened today, no matter how small, that you are genuinely grateful for. This immediately shifts your mind toward a positive state and provides perspective on the day's struggles. Part 2. Analysis. Ask yourself a series of diagnostic questions. What was one thing that tested my calm today, and how did I respond? What judgment did I assent to that I shouldn't have? What was my biggest time waster today? Did I live in accordance with my core values? Write it down without judgment, like a scientist recording data. Part 3. Forgiveness and commitment. Forgive yourself for any errors, acknowledging your own humanity and the difficulty of the path. Then, write down a single, clear, and specific commitment for how you will strive to be 1% better tomorrow. Tomorrow, I will practice the strategic pause when speaking with X. The third step is to end your ritual with a moment of stillness. A few deep breaths to clear the slate completely, releasing the day and preparing for a restful sleep. The benefits of this daily reset are the compounding effects of a well-maintained mind. You will find that you stop carrying stress and resentment from one day to the next, allowing you to start each morning from a place of greater peace and clarity. Your self-awareness will grow at an exponential rate because you are consistently learning from your own life. Your progress in mastering your reactions will be much faster because you are reinforcing your lessons every single day. You will sleep better, knowing that you have processed the day and have a clear plan for the next. You become the master archer who knows that the secret to a lifetime of true shots is not a single day of brilliant performance, but a lifetime of disciplined daily maintenance of his most precious tool. Your practice is to try this simple 3-part ritual tonight before you sleep. Just once. Write down 1 gratitude, 1 fault, and 1 commitment for tomorrow. These 5 laws are not just ideas, they are a system. They are a warrior's code for taking absolute command of your inner world, so that you are no longer a slave to your own reactions, but the calm, powerful master of them. Thank you for your dedication to this most important of inner battles. The discipline to stop reacting and exploding is the discipline that unlocks a life of profound peace, power, and self-respect. If this guide has provided you with value, please like the video, comment with the law you will begin practicing today, and subscribe to Stoic Dominion for more wisdom on the path to an unshakable life.